This is Joshua Harris with Frankly Cigars. We're here with Storm from Cigars for Warriors. Storm is the owner of Cats. He's the chairman of operations for Cigars for Warriors, husband of Jane, and retired military, retired training sergeant for TDCJ, and he's rated at 18 plus. I think. I think you're. Are you 18 plus or 21 plus? What is your preference?
I'm not even sure what you're asking me. Truthfully, you
Oh
talking
no,
about?
just like the age restriction on your comments. Is it 18 or is it 21?
I think if you're 18, you're an adult. So I think that's one of the things we've gotten wrong is we got eight. This gap between 18 and 21. You can
Right,
go to jail, but you can't have a beer. You can
right,
buy a house, but you can't smoke a cigar. It's a
yeah,
little insane. That's one of my personal fights in DC lately. Is that's no one wants me to talk about it, but that is one of our goals is to get in that exception for the military
okay,
uh, for tobacco. Now, my words is cigars, but overall it's tobacco.
yeah.
Let's face it, if you're old enough to put your hand up and say, "I'll give my life for you to save your rights,
Mhm.
protect your rights," they should be able to smoke a cigar, especially in one of the most stressful environments, whether it's because these men and women are in these crazy high op tempos, whether it's in the most dangerous parts of the world, almost all of it's horrible living conditions. And a lot of it, sometimes the stress is just because there's not anything to do until there is. And then it's just,
Right.
balls to the wall. So, that's my little, extra political statement.
No, no, and that's completely welcome here. And if people don't like it, they can turn it off. So I mean, because that's what you believe in. And I don't come from a big military family, but this is a ship's mug from my dad's ship when he was on CVG 10, the USS Albany.
Yep.
So in Vietnam, he put his hand up, and they said, "What do you want to be in?" He said, "I really like the water because I don't want to get shot at." So he went into the Navy. But when was your first cigar, Storm?
Oh, Lord. I couldn't tell you what my first cigar was. It's probably a Swisher Sweet, to be honest. You got to start somewhere. Kind of when you drink wine, you start out with Burge or White Zinfandel or something.
Right, or Boone's Farm, depending on where you're
Yeah,
from.
Boone's Farm. First beer, the Slits Light.
Right.
Uh, but I would say, there's been some very memorable cigars in my life. And, I'm a firm believer, and I know you are, is that, your environment and your mood changes how
Yeah.
that cigar tastes. So, I mean, I had a Perdomo in Iraq 2003 during something we had happened, and it was one of the best cigars I've ever had in my life. It's just stuck in my head because the moment of time, what we just did, what we just succeeded, and the people
Yeah.
I was with, it was just phenomenal. My first Sweet Jane, to this day, I still love it. Great cigar. So there's just, I like now that I'm, older, that a lot of my memories are surrounded by cigars because they do leave a nice firm memory.
Yeah, and it's funny because as you start to forget stuff, I never forget who I sat down with to have a cigar. I never forget, my big problem is remembering which ones I don't like. Because I'll come in and I'll be like, is it the MX2 or the LX2 that I don't like? Because I don't like one of them, but I can't remember which one it is, and I'm not brave enough to buy them both and figure it out. So, do you have a favorite drink you pair with your cigar?
A favorite is kind of hard, man. I like iced tea sometimes.
Okay, sweet
Uh,
or sweet or not sweet?
Sweet, of course. I'm
Okay.
Texan. I'm a fat Texan, so yeah, I
Well,
like.
I mean, I had to figure out how far south you were in Texas. I didn't I didn't know how it
Well,
went.
we don't consider ourselves South. We consider ourselves Texas.
Okay. I
We're
didn't.
the one of the best countries in the world.
Yeah. Do you have
Um,
any, what's your best advice for a new cigar smoker? Somebody just starting out.
Take it slow. Don't
Okay.
don't try to get crush yourself on a big heavy duty cigar. Don't stress what other people are smoking.
Yeah.
If you want a sweet cigar, smoke a sweet cigar. If you
Yeah.
want an acid, smoke an acid. Smoke what you like. Try what you like, and don't be afraid to say this isn't for me right now. And try it again in a year because your palate changes dramatically
Definitely.
sometimes.
Definitely. That's
You
that's
know,
great advice.
you
Do
know.
you
You
have
said
a
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
I
no,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say you said I can't remember which ones I hate. I have the same problem because, you know, one month I didn't really like it. And next month I, smoked and not realize it was the same cigar I didn't like a month ago. And all of a sudden that's like, hey, it's pretty good.
Well, I had
So
a cigar. I tried a cigar once from a company that I won't name, and I was 2 sheets to the wind, 3 sheets to the wind, 8 sheets to the wind. I was alcohol assisted and fueled up, ready to go. And I came in the shop the next day and I was like, man, I got to have a box of these cigars. And the tobacconist was like, you don't like this. And I was like, no, man, I smoked it last night. It's amazing. I got to get a box. Ring me up for the box. Got the discount. Cracked that box open. It was the worst cigar I've ever had in my life. I think I still have some of them in the humidor downstairs because it was like, oh, the alcohol told you that you like that cigar, but you don't really like that cigar.
yeah, that's pretty much me with all Candelas. I first one I ever had, I did had quite a bit of scotch that night. I thought, it's not the greatest, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
I'd smoke more. So a buddy of mine gave me base about 30 of them. And I smoked one the next day. I was like, God, that's horrible. And then, of course, he gave me 30 different, probably about 5 different brands.
Yeah.
And none of them I like. Now, there was a couple of the mixed ones like the Ogre and the
Okay.
Duro Wrapper and
Yeah.
Candela. I did enjoy that a lot.
What's the biggest unwritten cigar rule violation that you dislike? You smoked in a lot of different situations and with a lot of different. That'd be something that
Yeah.
just gets under your skin.
Uh, Being in an environment that I may not really know everybody because, you can imagine I do so many events all over the country. And then someone starts wanting to ask me my politics.
Oh wow.
And because depending where you are in the country, you never know what everybody else is wanting to do.
Right.
So I try to stay away from politics as much. Running a charity, it's not always good to me to give my opinion either because, let's face it, I would have been kicked off social media a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, I guess the second one would be putting your cigar out like a cigarette.
Oh yeah. Mashing that piece of art up in the ashtray just gets me, man.
And it's the smell of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it'll go out if you let it sit down. Believe me, mine goes out all the time. Every time I sit it down in the ashtray, I feel like it goes out. See, I appreciate that, Storm. I appreciate you showing people what I was talking about just then.
Trying to be a model for you, man.
Well, man, you're doing so well. I mean, the Texas Tech gear is on point. Like, you got the background working. I mean, it's a great thing. What was the moment you felt like a real cigar smoker? What was the moment where you're like, okay, I can hold my own with these guys?
I'm still waiting for that moment.
It may happen for you one day.
I every day is a different day how I view that.
Okay.
I read these amazing descriptions of these cigars reviews, right. And I'm like, I don't taste any of that.
Right. It has zesty citrus note. No, it doesn't. It's tobacco. It's smoke.
It's like I could taste a hint of leather out of Connecticut field from a bull that was dead in 1982. And you're like, I had a buddy, one of my friends who's a younger guy, but he has an amazing palate. A lot of manufacturers, I'll tell them I suck at reviews and they'll still send me a cigar and want me to write about it. Right. And I always tell them I only got 2 reviews, a great cigar or it's a good cigar. The good cigar just means something I didn't really enjoy at all. And so
and the great cigar just means it was free. So
yeah. I figured for me it's a good cigar. It means I didn't enjoy it, but it's on the shelf, so somebody's enjoying it. So it must be a good cigar.
What was the last cigar that surprised you?
There was a TAA Tatuaje 2016, and I remember it because it's the first time I ever smoked a cigar and got lightheaded.
Wow!
And had to chew some. And I was doing one of those Google Hangouts with a bunch of guys, and several of us had that cigar. We did on purpose so we could kind of talk about it. And all of us were like, "Holy crap, man!" I don't eat a lot of chocolate, but I was trying to find every piece of chocolate I could grab.
That's hilarious.
So,
do you have a favorite cigar ever, or a favorite cigar right now? Is there something that the way
I always tell people it's the Sweet Jane. In reality, it's just a safe answer for me. I still love the Sweet Jane.
Okay.
But it still does bounce, here to there. And like I said earlier, I may be at, Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival, Miami Cigar. and I'm just around some amazing people, great environment, and that cigar right there is all of a sudden my favorite, and I'll go buy a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Um, and that happens quite a bit. I would say consistently that I've enjoyed is probably the Sweet Jane.
Okay.
Or I know a lot of people, get nuts over the sweet tip of it, but it's to me it's a great cigar. And I do a lot of events, so I'm always talking. I've already relit this one once.
Right.
So at events they relight. So if it's not sweet tip for me, after a while it just sours
Well, and that
really
strength
bad.
builds. I believe that strength builds every time you relight it. And so if it goes out and then you're relighting it, and you've already started with something Nicaraguan, and then now you're plussing it and plussing it and plussing it, and you got those dark wrappers and those darker tobaccos on the interior, you're gonna punch yourself in the mouth with that flavor pretty quick.
Right. And I hadn't even thought about it, but you're absolutely right. And then I always like to say the term "burn your tobacco,"
Oh yeah.
and I've said a few times teaching younger guys, and they look at me crazy, but it's one of my favorite terms. But yeah, you can burn it and it sours out, and
Yep.
that's the last thing you want.
Well, and that's
Uh,
why, like, when I was in the shop, I would teach people you hold the flame back from the cigar, and that way you don't torch it because you're burning the tobacco. And I didn't even think about using it that way, but that's a great term. That really is. With all your travel and all the events you do, is there an accessory you can't live without? Because I pulled this one out of the box.
Nice,
I
very
pulled
nice,
I pulled that accessory out. So I don't
very
I don't I
nice.
don't wear it very often because I don't want to have to explain it to folks. But
Well, it messed up your shirt a little
well, I
bit.
mean, you know.
Those things it's crazy. One of our marketing guy, RJ Witcher, he lives in San Antonio, and they're huge on Fiesta down there.
Yeah.
And these people go nuts over those Fiesta medals. And I mean, they have giant trading setups. They'll go to
Oh, like a pin
a
swap kind of deal.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
They'll be in front of an ice cream store with the 600 people swapping out pins, buying them,
That's crazy.
selling them, whatever. And so he's like, for years, because they may make a couple. So finally, one year I said, all right, let's make three. I'll choose. I want to design one myself, and y'all design the other two. And did pretty good, but nothing special. So had a bunch left over. So next year at Cigar Fest, I just flew up there with them all,
Yeah.
and they sold out before we even had, before the first half of the day was over. So
Wow.
we figured we were on to something. So now we're on. We got the 5 out of 6 branches, 6 branches coming up soon,
Hmm.
and I think we have 4 specialties. And then knock on wood, we'd be on our third coin. That's the biggest request: coins and hats.
Okay.
But I can't find a good hat company that, if you're going to try to sell retail, nobody wants to buy a hat for $60. So,
Right. It tends to price itself out the market.
exactly. So
But what's what's
uh,
your what's your go-to accessory? Like, what's the one thing you got to have?
I,
Is it a
that's easy.
lighter? Is
That's a
it cutter?
lighter.
Yeah.
It's a lighter. Worst case scenario, I'll bite the end off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Have you ever met
I,
anybody within the cigar industry that you were epically impressed by? Is there somebody who you were like, okay, this guy really gets it. He really knows his stuff. Like, is there somebody who within the cigar industry that you were like, okay, wow, this guy's or girl is impressive?
do you know the Delicia cigar vixen?
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
the target. I would never, she's a gorgeous woman, really, really brilliant on wines and stuff. But she knows her cigars, and I didn't know if it was just all the how she did the video clips. They already prepared it, but I sit around her enough to listen to her talking about them.
Hmm.
Man, she's absolutely knows it all.
Yeah.
She, I'm sure she's got her tobacconist just because she knows everything in that book as it is. So
Right.
that was very impressive. It's all, and I always like being shocked like that, meeting someone you have one expectations and seeing that it's completely different view.
Yeah. I found out in this industry, the more that you learn, the more you need to know,
Oh,
because
I
it's just so much that goes into it, and so much that just I don't even have any idea about some of the stuff as far as aging and curing and all that other stuff that I just like to cut the end nicely and light the other end, like Frank
right.
used to say. So
Well, the one of the things I like about it is, and being an old adrenaline junkie before I got hurt, I get bored easy. And
yeah.
so the nice thing about cigars is that I could study it for 20 more years and still never know
Yeah.
everything there is.
Yeah.
I listen to JD when he gets on a Jonathan Drew when he gets on on a roll about a certain cigar, and it's all the thought process behind it. Plus, he adds that creativity side that most companies don't have, don't even think about doing.
Yeah.
And so he's already marketing and creating as he's developing these new blends,
Yeah.
which is on a whole nother level that way above my intelligence.
Well, no, he's
Uh,
got the new company too. He announced
yep,
yesterday that he's got a new company out with his son and everything else. So that's going to be
yep.
an amazing venture too.
I'm excited to see what that fully realizes that. It
Yeah.
sounds like a cigar factory with a bar,
Yeah.
which for him that's perfect,
I'm pretty good with that as well. Like I don't have an
right?
issue with that. So
I
we've come to the end of the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
No, man. Outside, I enjoy what you do. I'm excited to see where the show goes. I want you to keep me informed how you change things up.
Yep.
If you're not developing and changing, you're not growing. So,
Yeah.
and you're one of the smartest guys that I know. So, I'm very
Well, I
excited to see
appreciate
what
that.
happens.
That coming from you is a huge compliment. I really appreciate what you guys do. I'm very happy that you guys bounced back from the the dark ages of cigars where they weren't going to let you guys give samples out, and it was that whole ruling and verbiage and everything. So I'm glad that you guys
Yeah,
floated up to the top with that.
that was a nightmare that still I still get rears its ugly head up.
Yeah.
Because someone put out some really bad information that year, and it just keeps up popping up here and there. I still have people say, "Well, I thought nobody could send cigars to the troops," and that had nothing to do with nothing about the deeming. Even today, there's still bad information from companies who that's their livelihood, who
Right.
don't realize the deeming's been vacated,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it's no longer in effect. I know there's a FDA has an appeal out, but if you read the language that the three appeal judges have already been asked, has been very, very prejudicial and very uh, wording's been very harsh toward the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think cigars will be safe. I'm sure money somewhere is going to come involved. It always does, but
Oh yeah.
I hope it does. I don't, I just like to see the whole industry just be left alone and be what it is. It's an
Right.
artisan community. It's, I also think it's a very smart thing to have Central America making cigars and then instead of drugs. You
Yeah,
tell the
well.
farmers they can't grow tobacco;
Right.
they need another big cash crop. So uh, that's where I see that going.
So if people
So
want to help you guys out, how can they donate? How can they send you cigars? What's the process for that?
there's several things that always help us out. Of course, money's always a big one. Just for everybody's knowledge, we don't hire anybody. We have no employees. I do pay about three people a very small stipend, basically a thank you. It's enough for them to buy them a steak dinner once a month. Uh, they deserve a lot more. And these are people who are doing 10 to 30 hours a week.
Right.
So a lot of volunteer hours. So money's always important. We're running anywhere between, low ends 15 grand a month to 30, 40,000. So, for what we do, people think we're like a little small mom and pop operation. And I was like, because every month you're trying to stretch that nickel out. And of course, cigars, that's our big one. If you're a company that wants to donate something to go to the troops, let's talk about it. Reach out to me. Just email me anytime.
Mhm.
Storm.Boen at cigarsforwarriors.net. All our volunteers use their first name followed by a period, last name, just like the military, and then cigarsforwarriors.net. Um, or if you can't remember Storm Boen, just type in info and send it to us. That goes with volunteers. Volunteers are always important because at any given time we may have 300, or we may have out of that 300, we may have 10 actually doing anything that week. The next week's a different. The next week's a different 10. So
Right.
we always need volunteers. It's an up and down game as you can imagine. Real life gets in the way of that. And then companies who want to sponsor us, who want to, if they're manufactured, donate. We're very proud of our synergy program, which I think me and you talked about for an hour last time we saw each other. And
Yeah.
that's where a manufacturer, they want to make a cigar for us. And then what's crazy was an idea that was a new way to talk to manufacturers, a new idea. Not in a million years think anybody would agree with it 100%. Think it'd be like a starter negotiation.
Right.
And the first company I brought it up to was Harman Solomon, and Eddie was like, within seconds, yeah, I want to do that. But
Wow.
basically, that's making one of your top end cigars that we agree that we want. Our marketing teams work together. Has to be approved by CFW, and then it can only be sold to our donation centers, which people don't know. We have shops that are official donation centers.
Mhm.
That, we have a standard, a minimum standard that has to be followed to be stay current. And it's very simple, but it's easy money for a shop. Plus, it's patriotic, helps out a good cause, and it gives the consumers a tax write-off when they need it. Um, but those shops all send them in, and then so there's a lot of different elements that are important. So it's something you've always wanted to do to support the military. You're looking at a way to take care of the men and women while they're deployed. The number one requested by far. We know this. We did a 3-year survey,
Mhm.
not a 30-minute CNN survey. And it was surprising even for me. Now, there was some bias as we did put a lot of cigar groups in that,
I mean,
well, cigars. So,
data's data. I mean, it's not.
but, our treasurer, Ben Edmondson, he did that. But went to a lot of military or, groups and a lot of different locations to get all that data. So it's pretty impressive. And so it's very important for people to know that. And that the stress management alone or the mental health is one of the reasons we were able to have communications with the Congress we have talking to us because of the mental health benefits. Because we've had a professional in the medical field put their names behind it saying the mental health benefits outweighs any potential health risk.
Yeah.
And when you think about the suicides that happen on deployments, one is a weird beast, and you never know. They're all different, and they change daily. So you need some kind of stress management, and there's not a lot of options. And you don't want that stress management to be being, eat some lead. And the more stress reduction in combat or, in a long deployment or float, you come home with less stress, less likelihood of you doing something to yourself, self harm, even in the future. So it's definitely a long term ramification. Now, I'll be honest with you, when we started this, there was no huge meaning to it. It was just a way to send a simple thank you. I just want to say thank you guys. Here's a cheap way. Here's a $10 cigar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody wants, I'm going to tell you honestly, everybody, nobody wants hygiene products.
No,
I,
stop sending baby wipes and shampoo. It's
oh
not.
God, I had so much hygiene. We gave it to our interpreter and he opened a shop with it. So the Army gives us what we need. So unless you want to send the super high end razors, which for some reason we never got any of those.
Yeah, imagine that. Only Bic.
The CNN put out we needed baby wipes, and man, I had enough baby wipes for all of Iraq. So let's give these guys something that they can use. Books. Hell, if you really want to be really altruistic, give them an iPad or a Kindle or something to read off of.
But
But cigars,
but it's important too with the cigars because you're away from your support system and you don't have your
yes,
support system there, so you can facilitate self care like you were saying.
yeah. And for a lot of guys who are thinking cigarettes, and it's still a little bit different function because when you're smoking cigars, it is. It's not you going outside a tent real quick for a 5-minute puff. It's usually you and 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chaplains that work with us. They'll talk, a guy like me who's not going to go talk to a chaplain. He offers me a cigar. He's got a good bribe. I'm going to go talk to the chaplain.
Right.
So that's just good. And we're very excited when we work with chaplains. You hear Holy Smokes Night, those fireside missions, fireside chats. We even do a lot of stuff on the border and here in Texas. But we only work with chaplains because we can't really vet our troops when they're in the U.S.
Okay.
Or we can vet them when they're deployed out of the U.S. and APOs. So we have the ability to be able to, probably the only charity that can do it. Someone we're very, very proud of. Since day one, we've always had someone in operations act duty that was part of our organization. That if someone requests it, first off, we want to make sure they're a U.S. service member,
Right.
and number two, that they're actually deployed. And then we're gonna, because we care about when people donate.
Mm.
If they send us a cutter, we want to make sure they get a cutter. People ask me all the time, can you send me other stuff that you may need for raffles? Yes, it's one of our biggest source of money when we're doing 10 raffles a weekend, different parts of the country. It adds up, and that's how we nickel and dime our bill every month. So
Right.
at the end of the day, just saying thank you and shaking somebody's hand, saying thanks for what you do for the charity to one of our volunteers
Yeah.
goes a long ways. You'd be surprised that having that volunteer on the back can keep him and her motivated for another 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's a big game changer too.
Well, I feel like you guys have been a big game changer. You guys have been doing this for a while. And, to find out it's on a volunteer basis must be shocking to most people. Because when I found out a couple of years ago, when we first met at the trade show, I was like, what do you mean you guys do this as volunteers? And you're like, no, everybody here is a volunteer. And I found out today that you have a last name. I didn't know you had a last name until today. I thought it was just Storm, like Prince or Madonna, like that. So everybody's learning today. But
Right.
I appreciate you sitting down with us today, Storm. Like you said, if people want to reach out, it's Cigars for Warriors, info at cigarsforwarriors.net. And this has been Joshua Harris with Storm from Cigars from Warriors on Frankly Cigars.